Home Child Care Provider Pilot and Home Support Worker Pilot are two economic pilot programs targeted to foreign national caregivers who have a job offer or Canadian work experience in an eligible caregiver occupation, meet minimum education and language proficiency requirements. Home Child Care Provider Pilot.
IRCC received at least 2,750 applications under the Home Child Care Provider Pilot. This means the pilot is closed to new applications for 2021. IRCC will return any other applications they receive and refund the fees. The pilot will reopen to new applications on January 1st, 2022. You can also look into other options for caregivers in Canada. Caregivers who are in Canada could also have the opportunity to apply for permanent residence through the recently announced temporary residence to permanent residence pathway for essential workers. Home Support Worker Pilot.
It is not close to reach the cap for the Home Support Worker Pilot. Applicants can still apply under this pilot. IRCC will update the website if and when they close this pilot to new applications for 2021. If you already submitted an application, you don't need to contact IRCC about an application you submitted in 2020 or 2021 under either pilot. IRCC will send you a notification letter as soon as possible to confirm they've received your application. It may take longer than usual for you to get this letter due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
The Home Child Care Provider Pilot and the Home Support Worker Pilot are 5-year pilot programs that let qualified caregivers and their family members come to Canada and can become permanent residents. If you've been offered a job in Canada as a caregiver or have experience working in Canada as a caregiver, you may be able to apply for permanent residence through one of these pilots. The application process will be different depending on your situation and how much qualifying work experience you have.
Home Child Care Provider Pilot and Home Support Worker Pilot. Application process and who can apply. Those eligible to apply are foreign nationals who have the ability to become economically established in Canada, intend to reside in a province or territory other than Quebec, meet the minimum language proficiency threshold set for that occupation, meet the minimum education requirement. They must also have one of the following: 2 years of full-time Canadian work experience in an eligible occupation within the preceding 3 years. A valid full-time job offer from a Canadian employer in an eligible caregiver occupation.
What are the evidences of language proficiency?
Designated language testing organizations for English language.
The following organizations administer the Canadian English Language Proficiency Index Program CILPIP: Paragon Testing Enterprises Incorporated, University of British Columbia. Note: the CILPIP has 2 tests, CILPIP General, CILPIP G, and CILPIP General Listening and Speaking, CILPIP GLS. The CILPIP G test is accepted by IRCC for immigration and citizenship purposes. The CILPIP GLS test is accepted by IRCC for citizenship purposes only. The following organizations administer the International English Language Testing System IELTS: Cambridge Assessment English, International Development Program IDP Australia, British Council.
French language testing organizations. The Paris Chamber of Commerce and Industry administers a test
d'évaluation DH français pour le Canada.
TEF Canada. Note: for IRCC purposes, Applicants must submit results for the following TEF Canada modules. Reading,
Compréhension DH l'écrit.
listening comprehension de l'oral, writing expression écrit, and speaking expression orale. The grammar and structure, lexique structure module is not required for Canadian economic immigration purposes. Although test candidates take it as part of the reading and listening modules. Note: the TEF candidate test is the required test by IRCC. However, officers should accept TEF results if the test was taken before March 1, 2020. TEF results for tests taken on or after March 1, 2020 will not be accepted and the application can be rejected. France Education International administers a test de connaissance du français pour les Canada TCF Canada. Note: for IRCC purposes, applicants must submit results for the following TCF Canada modules. Reading,
Compréhension DH l'écrit.
listening comprehension de l'oral, writing expression écrit, and speaking expression orale.
Language test equivalency charts. Equivalencies between the Canadian Language Benchmark CLB for English, the Niveaux de compétences linguistiques canadiens for French, and the results of language tests from designated testing organizations have been established and are summarized in the following tables.
What are the education evidences needed? The applicant must provide evidence that they have either of the following completed items: Canadian one-year post-secondary or higher educational credential, foreign educational credential, and an educational credential assessment ECA report issued by an organization designated by IRCC.
Foreign credentials. For applicants with a foreign educational credential, the ECA report must indicate that the credential is equivalent to a completed Canadian one-year post-secondary or higher educational credential, be less than 5 years old on the date of application receipt, have been issued on or after the date the ECA organization was designated by IRCC. The assessment outcome stated in the ECA report is conclusive evidence that an applicant's completed foreign educational credentials are equivalent to at least a completed Canadian one-year post-secondary educational credential. Equivalency assessments will include an assessment by the designated organization of the authenticity of the applicant's completed foreign educational credentials. Note: this assessment provided by the designated organization is not conclusive evidence of the authenticity of the foreign educational credentials. If an officer has concerns about the authenticity of an applicant's foreign educational credentials, they must communicate these concerns to the applicant. Afford them an opportunity to respond to those concerns and provide additional information or documentation.
What is the qualifying Canadian work experience needed? The applicant will be assessed for qualifying Canadian work experience once they have submitted proof of this requirement. The assessment will take place either up front in their initial permanent resident application or after the issuing of an occupation-restricted open work permit through one of these pilots. Applicants without 24 months of experience, applicants who are otherwise eligible, but who lack the 24 months of qualifying Canadian work experience at the time of their application for permanent residence will receive an occupation-specific open work permit. Within 36 months of the issuing of the occupation-specific open work permit, the applicant must demonstrate that they have obtained at least 24 months of authorized full-time work experience. Any qualifying work experience claimed must have been obtained within 36 months of the issuing of the occupation-specific open work permit was issued. Note: some applicants may have some, but less than 24 months of the qualifying Canadian work experience when they receive an occupation-specific open work permit. They can count this experience toward the 24-month requirement, as long as they demonstrate that the 24 months of experience. Applicants with 24 months of experience.
For applicants with at least 24 months of qualifying Canadian work experience at the time of application, they will submit their proof of qualifying work experience upfront in their application for permanent residence. The applicant must demonstrate that they have obtained a total of at least 24 months of authorized full-time work experience in Canada in the 36 months preceding the time of application.
Qualifying work. Full-time work means at least 30 hours of paid work per week. To qualify, an applicant must have obtained work experience in an eligible occupation listed in the National Occupational Classification (NOC). Home support worker pilot applicants must have qualifying work experience as home support workers and related occupations. NOC 4412. Note: among the sub-occupations under NOC 4412, housekeepers and related occupations are not eligible to apply under the home support worker class. The obligation is on the applicant to satisfy the officer that they predominantly provided personal care and support services, as per the main duties described in the NOC occupational description, with any performance of routine housekeeping duties, such as laundry, washing dishes, etc., being incidental to their primary role providing in-home care.
Breaks in work experience. Applicants do not have to be employed at the time they apply for permanent residence through the home child care provider pilot or home support worker pilot. Canadian work experience does not need to be continuous to qualify, but the period of 24 months of required employment does not include any extended absence from Canada, including any time worked for an employer outside Canada, periods of unemployment, prolonged sickness, parental leave. A reasonable period of vacation time will be counted towards meeting the work experience requirement. For example, a 2-week period of paid vacation leave within a given 52-week period, in which the applicant was engaged in qualifying work, would qualify, whether the period of vacation was taken in Canada or outside Canada. Any periods of self-employment, or periods of employment during which the applicant was engaged in full-time study, will not be included when calculating the period of qualifying work experience. All applicants must have had temporary residence status during the period of work experience acquired in Canada. Only authorized work will be counted towards the work experience requirement. The authorized work experience may be acquired under any combination of authorized work permits. Applicants without 24 months of qualifying Canadian work experience. Applicants who do not have at least 24 months of qualifying Canadian work experience must also provide proof of both of the following: a job offer, the ability to perform the work.
Job offer. Note: if the applicant has provided proof of at least 24 months of eligible Canadian work experience in their initial application, a job offer is not required. where applicants do not have 24 months of eligible Canadian work experience at the time of their initial application for permanent residence. They must demonstrate that they have obtained a job offer that is from a single Canadian employer. For a position outside the province of Quebec, for full-time employment, full-time means at least 30 hours of paid work per week. Non-seasonal. In a home child care provider or home support worker occupation, genuine and likely to be valid when the applicant is issued the initial occupation-specific open work permit. The job offer must also describe the work and duties to be performed by the applicant. These duties must align with the actions described in the lead statement. For the eligible occupation, as set out in the occupational descriptions of the NOC, note, the main duties of job offer cannot be for foster parent or housekeeper occupations. Assessing whether a job offer is genuine. Proof that a job offer is valid and genuine may include but is not limited to a genuine need for a caregiver. For example, proof of a school-aged child or a person with medical needs in the home. The fact that the wage specified in the job offer is aligned with the prevailing wage in the province where the work will be carried out. The fact that the employer has the financial ability to pay the wages specified in the job offer. In the case of a live-in arrangement, the fact that reasonable accommodations are provided, for example, a private room. To assess the validity of the job offer, officers can request further information from the employer and use information provided on the job offer. For example, officers can assess whether the employer is financially able to pay the caregiver the salary described in the job offer, or if there is a genuine need for a caregiver by examining financial information provided by the employer. The caregiver's salary, the household composition declared in the job offer.
Ability to perform the work. Note: if the applicant has provided proof of at least 24 months of eligible Canadian work experience in their initial application, they do not need to be assessed for their ability to perform the work. Applicants who have not obtained at least 24 months of qualifying Canadian work experience must demonstrate that they are able to perform the work described in the lead statement of the occupational description of the NOC. NOC 4411. If applying for the home child care provider pilot. NOC 4412. If applying the home support worker pilot. Failure to do so may result in a refusal. Note: foster parents are excluded from NOC 4411, and housekeepers are excluded from NOC 4412.
Supporting documentation. When assessing an applicant's ability to perform the work, officers can refer to supporting documentation provided in the application. This may include, but is not limited to, proof of relevant previous work experience, either paid or unpaid. For example, employer reference letters, employment records, work contracts, pay stubs. Copies of relevant education credentials or training, which can include diplomas or certificates. A copy of the applicant's most recent work permit in Canada if they've been working in Canada. When an officer has serious concerns regarding an applicant's ability to perform the work, the officer must follow procedural fairness. Note: applicants who are applying with less than 24 months of qualifying work experience and have met the eligibility requirements relating to education, language, job offer and ability to perform the work must be assessed for admissibility before being issued an occupation-specific open work permit and being assessed for qualifying work experience.